it is going to be FormulaDani who lines up on a pole once again. I think this is his 5th pole of the season or something. Foton lines up in 2nd. He currently leads the championship. Velocity Hyperz in 3rd ahead of Nameless. Then the Williams duo of Triton Matthias and Triton Lehman lock out the 3rd row of the grid ahead of the 2nd Toro Rosso of Calcifer. Mr. Anker takes 8th in the 2nd Ferrari ahead of Andinator and Wow in the Renault. Kopi takes 11th ahead of Kaboom and Paddy, as Shad picks up a 14th ahead of FX Rupert. Crucix and Zones round out the back of the grid. The driver standings, Foton leads on 159 points, just 14 ahead of Hyperz, who will be looking to close down that gap even further. Napadovsky sits in 3rd with 88 points ahead of Lehman on 74. FormulaDani, our pole sitter, is on 71 ahead of Mark 313, who is on 61 points and absent from today. Hayes on 56 points is also absent, as Ethnic TRN is 8th in the standings ahead of Wow and Nameless.
And in the Constructors' Championship, we have currently Taurus leading with 178 points, directly followed by Mercedes with 170 points. And then we have Red Bull with 143 points, Ferrari with 98 points. Then we have Williams in 5th with 97 points, just 1 point behind. Then we have Alfa Romeo Racing, followed by McLaren. Then there comes Renault, Haas, and last but not least, Racing Point.
Racing Point will need to find some big points, but none of their drivers are racing tonight. Foton, though, is going to be massive for... Foton and Calcifer, I should say, will be massive for that Toro Rosso team. Hyperz, the only driver for Mercedes. And that battle between Foton and Hyperz in the Drivers' Championship and Toro Rosso and Mercedes is getting massive, as well as Williams and Ferrari. Nameless is the Ferrari main driver, and he'll need to find as many points as he can because both Williams drivers are participating today. We saw some drops of rain in qualifying towards the end of the session, but it doesn't look like we will be getting any of that here for the race, as the drivers are lined up on the grid and they await the 5 red lights. As it looks like we are ready to go racing. FormulaDani lines up on pole. Foton alongside. It's 5 red lights, and it's away we go for the Belgian Grand Prix. It's a good start from FormulaDani. He'll get into turn 1 very, very cleanly. There's a Mercedes looking for the insides in the background. That's Zones, but behind. Hyperz won't quite get the run as someone getting pushed slightly wide. Let's take a look from a Triton Lehman's perspective. Everyone's still in order. No changes in the positions just yet. Does anyone get a good run out of Eau Rouge? Nameless very close to Hyperz, and Foton up ahead. He's alongside FormulaDani as we head into Le Combe for the first time. FormulaDani will hold on to the position as Nameless looks aggressive around the outside, but won't be able to make the move onto Hyperz. Works in Triton, Lehman, and Matthias will be starting to look just that little bit aggressive as Nameless gets a lockup and Nameless gets a lockup and Lehman very, very close.
And Mr. Anker is back there fighting with Calcifer. He's now overtaken Calcifer for 7th place. And yeah, it's pretty surprising that nothing happened in the source, right?
And DRS has been enabled. It's time to start racing, ladies and gentlemen. FormulaDani, a 2.5 second lead to Foton, which means Hyperz and Foton. This battle is going to be unaffected by the Sauber Esports driver. Hyperz, he's got the run. He is close. It's time to start battling. Hyperz in the slipstream, moves over to the inside. Foton will not block him off, and Hyperz will take 2nd place. And that's Mr. Anker. Mr. Anker's in the pits for a very early stop now. To break the slipstream, Foton will look for the outside, side by side, and these two are most certainly not working together. Hyperz will squeeze Foton out. He's very, very close actually here, Maku, and surely he's going to make this one work as Nameless will go defensive. Matthias on the outside just doesn't quite seem to have the overspeed, even with the DRS. He'll hold it around the outside. There's a bit of contact, and that's going to be Nameless then spinning, and Lehman will follow Matthias in the cut across Le Combe, but that is a Nameless dropping down the order. He's ghosting, so thankfully there's no collisions with anyone else, but Nameless down to 14th place and coming into effect on the start-finish straight as Lehman blinks first and heads into the pits. And Calcifer will follow suit. The anchor, he has a moment and into the grass on the exit of turn 9. And this anchor's race just going from bad to worse here after
7 rounds now.
Hyperz into the pits, Foton and Matthias, they will all come into the pits behind him. Now, Hyperz out of the pits, he is going to be well clear of Lehman, but Matthias comes out and will feed in behind his Williams teammate. Yeah, as you mentioned, side by side for the provisional lead of the race. Nameless retires, we're not quite sure what's happened. Shad will take the lead in the Force India. And Donator picks up a 3-second time penalty, and I believe that is the first of the races. Hyperz gets a good run coming through turn 16, and he'll pick up the position.
Until now.
Let's run on board with FormulaDani, because he's diving down the inside into La Source. He'll pick up the position. FormulaDani back up into the podium spot. FormulaDani looking up for Shad. Could have a little look heading into the bus stop. He will have a go. Shad will leave the door open. Notices him. Oh, but the Red Bull gets very feisty and makes contact with FormulaDani, who I don't think will be very happy about that one. But FormulaDani, all's well that ends well. I don't think Kaboom took any front wing damage either, but very aggressive nonetheless from the Red Bull drivers. FormulaDani, he should be able to get the run on Shad this time through Eau Rouge, and indeed he will. DRS open down the back straight, but also I want to take a look at Kaboom. Is he close enough to have a go onto Shad? He is very close indeed, but not quite close enough, and he'll still have to settle for third as FormulaDani retakes the lead of the race.
Paddy, who's now...
Oh, Paddy moves out of the way, so...
Oh, yeah.
Very respectful from Paddy. Just going to cut you up there, Maku, because Matthias gets a fantastic run, but no defense will come through from Lehman, who will let Matthias go. And this is great stuff from the Williams drive onto Paddy as we enter the final couple of corners. Calcifer down the inside into the bus stop chicane. Will pull off the move, and Calcifer back up into 8th place. And it's risky.
Zones pulls the move onto Paddy and got through.
We make our way down the Camel straight. Foton will go defensive. Matthias looks for the outside. Is this the lap? Matthias says it is. Sweeps around the outside and will take 5th place and what is essentially the final spot on the podium. Foton, though, very close to Matthias as we make our way through Blanchimont. Foton will look for the inside into the final chicane. FormulaDani sets the fastest lap. As a Foton Okay, here we go. Foton goes defensive once again. Matthias will look for the outside side by side, but he won't be able to pull it off this time and will slot back into 4th place. And see Foton, though, getting hunted down by Matthias. Matthias once again looks for the outside, will sweep through down the Camel straight, and will have a clean run into Le Com. Matthias and Foton just pulling away from the second Williams driver right now. Foton will go for the inner side, and Matthias will not go defensive. Slots back into 3rd place. So, not a lot of battling between these guys, and they're just letting each other through and then doing the exact same move the following lap.
But as interesting as the...
Oh, FormulaDani's had a moment.
Oh. What happened?
He's 8 seconds behind Calcifer, so I think he's had a spin into Le Com. The position now. FormulaDani sweeps past Calcifer up into 6th place, closing in onto Foton, heading into the bus stop chicane for the penultimate time. So close, almost touching, has a bit of a moment, loses the traction slightly. Now FormulaDani is half a second behind Zone, who's on the tail of Lehman. Now Lehman really struggling with those medium tires right now, and heading into La Source. That's going to be Lehman running wide. Foton, can he quite get the drive? FormulaDani, though, will be able to find the way through on Lehman, through on the exit of La Source into Eau Rouge we go. Lehman struggling so much. Zones is going to get the run. Up ahead, though, Foton and Matthias battling. Matthias will take the position. And as we said, whoever is behind into the last lap will have the advantage. Matthias finds the position as Well, back behind, all of a sudden, FormulaDani is down into 6th place, and Lehman is back in 4th. FormulaDani, he's going to look for the inside into Brussels, but he's going to switch to the outside. Can he find the traction? No, he can't. Zones will be able to hold on to 5th place for now, and Kalsva closing in as well. FormulaDani, he has to fight. Actually, Zones has 6 seconds worth of time penalties as well, so this technically doesn't matter. FormulaDani just has to keep it on the tarmac right here. Oh, there's a little bit of contact, but FormulaDani will get the drive. Round the outside we go, heading into campus. FormulaDani will take 4th place. Zones will have to slot in behind Lehman. As we're going to take a look up ahead, Hyperz making his way into Blanchimont. Now Matthias is well ahead of Foton. Zone, so he's having a look at the back of Lehman. Is so close up ahead. Hyperz making his way through the final couple of corners. Hyperz is going to be your race winner for round 13. But Zones, he tries to have a look. Lehman goes defensive. Can he potentially get the drive? Lehman has really worn rubber, but he won't be able to. Matthias 6 seconds ahead of Foton. There's a bit of contact. Zones gets a 5-second time penalty. Foton will take a 3rd. FormulaDani in 4th. Kalsifer takes 5th off the time penalty. Shad 6th. Lehman 7th. And Zones in 8th. Final confirmation then of our race results. It's a Polish 1-2. Hyperz takes the win ahead of Triton Matthias. Foton rounds out the podium as FormulaDani takes 4th place and picks up the fastest lap of the race. Kalsifer takes 5th ahead of Shad after Triton Lehman's time penalty sees him drop from 5th down to 7th. Zones takes 8th ahead of Kopi and Kaboom as Andinator takes 11th ahead of Wow and Rupert. After 22 laps of action here at the Belgium Grand Prix, in the Drivers' Championship standings, Foton still leads from Hyperz, but the gap is now just 4 points. Napadovsky still sits in 3rd as FormulaDani jumps ahead of Lehman for the 4th place spot. Mark is still in the 6th as Matthias Cologon, aka SHZ Hayes, sits in 7th place. Enik TRN is in 8th ahead of Matthias, who jumps up from 14th place to 9th in the 2nd of the Williams. Wow is in 10th ahead of Nameless, Hadler and Donoso. Stiff is in 14th and Kalsfer climbs up the table after picking up a few points. Zones is in 16th ahead of Brownie, Kopi as Velocity James and Crucix rounds out the top 20. In the Constructors' Championships, Toro Rosso still lead with just an 8-point gap over Mercedes. Red Bull are in 3rd as Williams continue to score some big points and they jump ahead of Ferrari, as do Alfa Romeo. Ferrari themselves are now down into 6th place as McLaren are in 7th ahead of Renault, Haas and Racing Point are still at the back of the grid. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to our driver interviews. Joining us tonight, we have race winner Veloci Hyperz, 2nd place man Triton Matthias. We also have Triton Lehman and Veloci FormulaDani. Let's start off with our race winner, Hyperz. The start was a little bit tense, very close, but you managed to pull a good gap to Foton. I want to know your thoughts, first of all, when you saw that FormulaDani had pitted.
Yeah, I was surprised, but when I saw it, I knew that he just got bored, which I kind of understand, you know. I don't think this is exactly his priority. So when I saw him pit, I felt like, yeah, that's a chance for a win. So I managed to win. Overall, the race was okay. It was quali was a little bit messed up. There was that rain at the end. I lost about a 10th in the last sector, but that wouldn't change much anyways. Got a good start. Managed to overtake Photon. Danny just went away completely. So basically, I knew that in some way I need to break the DRS. I managed to do it in the pits, and from there on, it was a pretty straightforward race. And I think I just got lucky with Danny pitting. It's good to extend. Close the gap in the championship to like 4 points or something now. So yeah, it's definitely a positive race.
As you mentioned, getting very close between and Photon at the top of the standings. Moving on, though, to our 2nd place man, Matthias. That final lap, that was absolutely insane between you and Photon.
Yeah, I mean, whole race was just about staying in the DRS and then waiting to the last lap. So yeah, I mean, it was calculated. I'm not gonna lie. And then, you know, on a big straight like here, it's pretty easy overtake. So yeah, I mean, the hardest part was just maintaining the RS, and after the pits, when Hyperz managed to pull away and Foton was a little bit struggling. So yeah, it was the hardest on in the race, but all race was just, yeah, as I said, maintaining the ERS and staying in the slipstream and not making mistakes, because one penalty here would drop me like 2 places behind or 3 even. So
Now, moving on to our fourth place man, FormulaDani. Qualifying, fantastic. You got into the 112s. I know this is your favorite track. Everything going so well. Now, I don't know what happened, but I saw you dropped about 8 seconds. Talk us through what happened going into Les Combs.
Yeah, hello guys. Yeah, it's been a quite interesting race for me. I actually really enjoyed it. Qualifying, I did one of the best laps of my life, but it started to rain from the point when I was in only Eau Rouge. So for me, the full lap was wet, and I still managed to improve and get into the point nines. But I highly believe that it would have been a point 0.5, low point 0.6 without any kind of slipstream. So I was quite happy with that. But yeah, the race came as I anticipated. This is my favorite track, so I started to pull away. By the end of lap 16, I had around 7 seconds gap to Hyperz, if I remember correctly. And at that point, I started to calculate an alternative strategy, and and I went into the pit for the soft tires, and my maths worked in a way that I would catch Hyperz in the last lap, and I was confident that I could execute this maneuver. But when I came behind Calcifer, I ran out of ERS quite early, unfortunately, in the straight, and I lost a little bit of momentum, so I couldn't get as close as I wanted. But I still wanted to brake late and try the maneuver, but I managed to brake a little bit too early, but still too late. So absolutely the worst point to brake, because if I dive more, then we can get side by side, and then I'm fine because I have more grip. And actually, I just wanted to exit that maneuver and slot behind Calcifer, but I barely. I just the tiniest touch you can imagine with my front wing. I didn't even get any damage, and the damage is on. I hit Calcifer, lost stability on the curve, so spin like a noob. But come on, I'm a Sebastian Vettel fan, so I had someone to learn it from. And I lost 10 seconds with it, overheated my tires, and obviously had to go through the traffic once again. But managed to catch Calcifer in the penultimate lap, overtook him. After I also catch Le Mans and SHZ, or I don't exactly know his name.
Zones.
Yes, and we had an amazing moment there in the last lap. I'm not sure if you could catch it in the broadcast, but basically they both wanted to get the DRS. I couldn't care less about it because I was a bit pissed at myself. So I just went ahead. I had zero energy left, so they both overtook me in the straight. And after we did side by side for long corners, and at the exit of Pujon, we were basically 3 wide. After I used all my ERS again, went around the outside with the more grip with an extremely late braking at the corner after Pujon. Had an amazing exit from the first turn of the last sector, and could maintain my fourth position uh, for the end of the race. So yeah, it was quite fun. For that battle, actually, it's worth spinning out, because that was for me one of the best moments in my ORL history. This league is for me about fun and clean racing, and I know that all the drivers are very respectful for each other. So I really enjoy to be in the field and not just to lead, because yeah, sometimes you just have to race wheel to wheel as well, because it's a lot of fun around here. And I want to congratulate you, Hyperz. He had great pace, managed to break DRS from Foton. Veloce for the win.
That's all that we have for. Thank you very much for tuning in. We'll see you next week for round of 14 at Monza. It should be an absolute cracking race. 7:30 p.m. GMT. make sure you put it in your diaries. And until then, stay fast and good night.